The college football experience week 4 DFS show on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog's got a brand new offer for new customers. Play just $5 and get $50 in bonus funds when you sign up with our promo code TCE SGPN. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
Hey, this is Pac-Man Jones. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes. Woo! Welcome back from the dead is the DFS show. Week 4. College football DFS show for Friday night, Saturday day, and Saturday night. We got you covered. YouTube.com/The College Experience. Get on over there. Hit that like and subscribe button. Jack Lantrim saying, wow, what's happening here? Faustino, do we got Bud Bundy in the fucking chat? He's saying, let's go. All right, let's go. Daquan, yes, dude, Daquan's gonna have to hop on a show too. We're gonna do this thing. Plus 900 for Vandy to make the playoffs. We're gonna talk all about plus 900. Why not? Why not sprinkle that? Vandy to win it all. Some are saying it's getting crazy in the chat already. As we got games kicking off soon. Hopefully, just listen to our FCS show we did earlier this morning. Jake Lafayette. But tonight that is, and then we have a bunch of FCS games tomorrow that we covered, as well as our FBS slate that is out there, where me, the Bet Detective, and Moneyline Mag talk about every single FBS game. If you're wondering, if you're brand new and just wondering, hey, I'm into DFS, I want to bet some shit. Well, my name is Colby Swinging Database Dad, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
He's the kind of guy that would drink a gallon of gasoline so he could piss in your campfire. You could drop this guy off at the Arctic Circle wearing a pair of bikini underwear without his toothbrush, and tomorrow afternoon he's going to show up at your poolside with $1 million smile and a fistful of pesos.
Let's go DFS. You know I love it. I've been playing it without. I just thought I was flying solo. NC Nick's coaching soccer. Who knows? He's changed horses midstream. All right, he's into charcuterie and shit now. You know what I mean? He's like taking the wife on wine trips. He's got goddamn quilts he's putting out. You know what I mean? Honey, look. You can pair this Merlot with this. Look, and more power to him. All right, because he probably dials up a good soccer offense. Well, I don't even know what a good set. A set. I don't know what
you know better than that.
Yeah. He dials up a good set. That's what it is. I am joined by my co-host. Look, I'm excited to get this guy on the show because he's been, first off, I mean, he's been just a guy that knows the sports world very well. And I always see it when I'm hopping off VSiN. I see this guy sliding in on top of me. He's headlining this shit, or I see him on Sports Grid and I go, this motherfucker here. And he's, and look, he's one of, I don't know who he's dating. He's just throwing solid amounts of money around in the chat recently. I don't know if he's got some money in the stock market. Is he gambling over there as well? But he is also the host of the Rob's Best Bet Show. You should check him out on YouTube. Give it up for the great Rob Donaldson. How are you, buddy? Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you, Colby. And yeah, man, I'm pumped to join this show. I love college football. The season's fucking going. And yeah, man, bets are flowing. So that's why I got to give a little bit back.
Hey, well, I swear, one of those days, me and Bet Detective were off air. I was like, that motherfucker's just, I don't know. He might be intoxicated. He might wake up the next morning. So I was like, let's not spend it yet, because he might hit me back the next morning saying, guys, I was really fucked up. And we're good people. So we'd say, okay, we can figure that out. But no, you've been solid. You've been great, man. And one of the things I've always respected your knowledge when it comes to, really any sport, but specifically college football and college basketball, which I mostly handle. And that's why I think the show can work, man. And then shout out to Daquan, shout out to Cannabis Capper. Those are guys that also, when this thing came into fruition, just kind of naturally, people were wondering where the DFS show was. And I said, if anybody wants to do the show, I'll do it with them. And you hit me up first, but the other two are right there. I will throw you guys can come on the show too in the coming weeks. And we could definitely have a guest each time and give out our lineups and stuff. So anyway, if you did not listen the previous years, this is how it works, was that on Friday, well, sometimes we would do it on Thursday, sometimes we do it on Friday, depending on the week of action. Like obviously we could have probably done this on Wednesday and had the Rice Charlotte game there, but there was only one game on Thursday. So we avoided that, but we will give you action for tonight. And we're going to start on the DK side of things, but we will also be giving our sponsors, you see it on the screen there, Underdog Fantasy, promo code TCE SGPN, some love as well as we go game by game. So tonight we have just 2 games on the slate DFS wise on DraftKings. And that is Tulsa, Oklahoma State, and Iowa and Rutgers. I know you're a big Iowa fan, so I'm just assuming your entire fucking roster is Hawkeyes. But let's start on the DK side, and then we'll go into the underdog side. At the quarterback spot, so folks, if you haven't caught Iowa Rutgers over the years, Kirk Ferentz has dominated the series. But in Piscataway, the 2 times he's played this, he's 4-0 all time. Ferentz, they've only played 4 times because Rutgers wasn't always in the Big East before the world went crazy, right? So they've only played 4 times. In Piscataway, we've got scores of 14-7, and then a big time offensive output by the Hawkeyes, 27-10. Rutgers only has 17 points total in 4 matchups against Iowa. Just giving you those nuggets because if you're out there turning in your DFS, and by the way, NC Nick, who started this show over the years, he's still host, and we welcome you to join our group on DK. If you want to come play against us, it's a lot of fun. Just beer money, nothing crazy. But yeah, to me, you got to be crazy to load up a Rutgers offensive line or offensive player in this matchup. Now, maybe that's the edge. If they do, their offense has scored a lot of points this year in the non-con, but I can't do it. Did you roster a Rutgers player? I just want to offensive player, obviously. I'm curious if you did.
I did not. Roster Rutgers player, and I will say a little bit of a nugget to that 27-10 game. About 14 of those points were Cooper DeJean, which none of them really obviously were on the offensive side of the ball being scored there. But
I'll be honest, I strayed away from this game with the exception of one. I have one player in this game, but at the quarterback spot, we just got news, by the way. We just got news in the so I had turned in my lineup earlier today because I knew we were doing the show, and I was all over Kirk Francis, the quarterback of Tulsa, who had a really good week 1. He got knocked out of the New Mexico State game week 2. He did not play last week against Navy, so I'm thinking, okay, he's gonna play. But you know how these athletes are these days; they're all pussies. So Kirk Francis is out, and it's gonna be Baylor Hayes at the quarterback spot getting the start. Well, I don't know if it's officially been reported yet. I see doubtful though. It went from questionable to doubtful for Kirk Francis. So with that news, I loaded up on Baylor Hayes taking on an Oklahoma State defense. That's really, I have no idea. They held UT Martin to 7 points. But if you watch that game, UT Martin kind of moved the ball. They just couldn't finish drives. And then they played Oregon and gave up 69 points. It's just the slate. I'm not excited about having Baylor Hayes, a freshman from Brentwood, Tennessee, as one of my quarterbacks, but I have 2 quarterbacks and I just want to stay away from the Iowa Rutgers game. So I'm taking a shot on a guy that has threw for 189. He got better against New Mexico State. Remember, he came in like, I don't know, mid first quarter or something. He threw for 134, touchdown and a pick. Right? Last week he threw for 189, touchdown and a pick. He did have a rushing touchdown each week though. And I think that is why I still feel more comfortable playing Baylor Hayes than even my guy Gronowski. I just feel like Rutgers' defense is solid. So it's like, anyway, who'd you go with? Did you I rostered 2 quarterbacks. I'll get to my other one in a second, but did you roster 2 quarterbacks for the Friday slate?
I did. I went with Zane Flores and I went with Gronowski, and in large part for Gronowski, it's kind of been a weird sample size on what we can expect from him because they played Albany, they played UMass, and then they played Iowa State. I mean, those are polar opposite ends of the spectrums in terms of, defensive formidability, right? Or whatever we want to call it. And what we did see in the second half against Iowa State when Iowa finally actually started to score points and move the ball is that Gronowski got involved in the ground game quite a bit. And he was actually the reason why they were converting 3rd and 5s because he was rolling out and extending the plays kind of an improv fashion. I don't love him if it's kind of like a full week sort of scope of plays, but on a standalone night with 2 games, I think there's a chance for a couple touchdowns, 1 through the air, 1 on the ground for Gronowski. And for me, that was enough to put him in there.
I think he's a really good quarterback, and I think people have been shitting on him kind of unjustly. I think he was with the same offensive coordinator for a while in Brookings. You leave Brookings at South Dakota State, you leave for Iowa, and now you're inheriting a new offense. And I'm sure, even though Tim Lester, I think, kind of had an aggressive offense at Western Michigan, I think Kirk Ferentz kind of puts training wheels on him, saying we don't need to be something. We have a great defense. We can figure this thing out. But you're right in the fact that he is a very good runner, and that's why I was considering looking at the. We'll get to the underdog part in a second, but Charles Walker in the chat said this National Guard bullshit going on in Memphis, Tennessee. I mean, God damn it. Can't you just enjoy your goddamn barbecue and just not have to worry about people marching through your streets? I haven't really stayed up. Charles, I gotta be honest, man. So I don't really like news, right? Unless it's sports news, anything news. I tried. It sounds so terrible, but I try to stay out of it. So I didn't know the other night when you brought that up, but then the algorithm picked up the fact that I guess I talked about it, my phone, because it recommended me, or I was going down on Twitter on my phone, and it was they're sending the National Guard in Memphis. Fucking brutal, man. What happened? Was there I know that Memphis got to share crime from time to time, but that's to me makes it an interesting city. But I don't know what happened there, but anyway, so we both rostered Zane Flores. I take it then.
Yep. Yes, we did. And I do think early on in the game, that's where we need to see it from Zane, right? We kind of almost want this to be competitive throughout. But we also don't want to see a scenario that plays out where Zane looks like ass out the gate. They don't move the ball in the scripted stuff. And all of a sudden we're in this game where everybody's down on themselves and the offense can't move at all.
Yeah. And Zane Flores, once again, another freshman. If you're wondering why my lineup might lose tonight, it's because I'm starting 2 freshman quarterbacks. Against UT Martin, he threw for a whopping 136. Now, Hoss Henny got injured in the first quarter in that game, so he played the majority of that game. He threw for 67 yards against Oregon. He's at home, though. He's had a bye week, but it is a little... I didn't think it'd be possible, but I actually think there is a shot that the winning DFS slate or lineup has the Rutgers starting quarterback and the Iowa starting quarterback. It is very much in the realm, even though I just refuse. I refuse to take both. Shout out to Daquad giving us $5 for Kansas to win, plus 2,200 to win the championship. Saying Darren Peterson, their best player in the country. And he also took the team under for Rutgers. Appreciate you, Daquan. 22.5. Back to Flores. What made you choose Flores, and how confident are you on him to slice and dice this Golden Hurricane defense?
Another kind of player that you insert in your lineup on a Friday because it's Friday with 2 games, and not necessarily because he's one of the better options on the college football slate here in week 4. I think the unknown upside gives us that advantage of putting him in there just because who knows what could truly happen, right? When he's not playing Oregon and Eugene as kind of one of his tune-up games. So I like the unknown. I don't necessarily know if I like him or Oklahoma State just in general, but let's ride, Zane. Let's put up some numbers tonight, man.
Let me help. I can help us out a little bit here on this. Well, last year they played. Now, granted, it was in H.A. Chapman Stadium at Tulsa, but Oklahoma State scored 45. Really, out of the past like 6 games. Now, take it with a grain of salt because I think this is the least talented Oklahoma State team of those.
Right.
But the last 6 matchups, it was 45-10 last year. Oklahoma State won. In 21, it was 28-23. Oklahoma State won. In 20, COVID year, Oklahoma State 16-7. In 19, it was 40-21. In 17, it was 59-24. In the time before that, it was 59-33. The time before that was 65-28. So all those in the past 15 years, only one of them was a low scoring game, and that was COVID with no fans. So yeah, in that regard, I think we drafted correctly.
And I'll ask you this, like sometimes with coaching, coaches that are kind of going down the drain, kind of seeing like in the NFL with Mike McDaniel in Miami, it just kind of feels like, okay, there's no life here. Do you think Gundy is just going to lay down? Because I don't. I think he's going to coach until he's gone, and that's going to find its way to come to the surface in some capacity, whether it's through his quarterback or whether through its ground game. I think one of those aspects are going to be investable, week by week.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Gundy, I still believe is like an Oklahoma State lifer. He cares about every time Oklahoma State foots on. But I know he's taking selfies, and people are overreacting to it. But yeah. So I still think he's better than Calic Manis or whatever the fuck his name is on Rutgers. Who I ran through his track record going up against the Ferentz defense. I know he's older. I know they had a DT Sheffield who I love DT Sheffield, the wideout for Rutgers. I still didn't roster him. At the running back spot, I stayed in exactly this game in Oklahoma. So Dominic Richardson is a starting running back for the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes. He is the running back that used to start for Oklahoma State, played in that bowl game, or not the bowl game, the Big 12 championship when he was a half yard short. That was Dominic Richardson. That was, essentially a half yard short in that matchup. So I'm playing the revenge angle. I think that's the angle here of like, hey, he's going up against his team. Fan base was pissed off when he was a half yard short. He's having some pretty good outputs so far. He had 142 yards in the opener against Abilene Christian, 93 against New Mexico State. But remember, backup quarterback comes in the past 2 weeks, just 61 against Navy, but he's scored 2 touchdowns on the ground. And also he's got the ball receiving. He's got 5 receptions on the season in 3 games. So he's good for a catch or 2 out of the backfield. Dominic Richardson, did you roster Dominic Richardson by chance?
I did. And I think when you're looking at just like the Big 12 in general, a lot of conferences take on a sort of a defensive style that caters to their league. Right. And the big one in the Big 12 and why you always see the kind of the points falling off the board, kind of why sometimes people call it like a soft, defensive style league is because they're so spaced out. They're protecting the pass. And that does open up the door for like an Oregon that does spread to run style of offense rather than, just a pure pass. And Tulsa tonight, I feel like, do they have any other options other than trying to kill it in between the tackles? Like maybe, but that's definitely a spot where I think they're going to try to find success.
I like the revenge angle, but I will say I did this. I rostered him with it in mind that the starting quarterback, what's his name, was playing. But now, do they load the box and make Hayes beat you? This is an interesting Friday night slate because you're like,
it is.
How much could Rutgers, Iowa, So I stayed in this game though, and I went not only with him, I went with the other side. Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy actually has had some of the better running performances over the past couple of years for a single game, whether it was Ollie Gordon or the kid from Canada who's on the Panthers. What was his name again? Before Ollie Gordon,
Chuba.
Yeah. I'm taking a shot on Caleb Hicks, a sophomore from Denton, Texas. Now he didn't necessarily kill it in either game, but he was average. He had 56 yards against Martin. He had 63 against Oregon. The 63 against Oregon was 4.5 yards a rush. So it makes me think he must have done something impressive in the Martin game for him to get all those reps. Tulsa's defense not known to be elite. So that was the logic there. I did consider going with your boy from Iowa, which I actually, now that I think about it, I should probably throw him in the flex because I have extra money since I switched quarterbacks just a minute ago. But what'd you do with the second running back spot?
Yeah, no, I went with Jazz Patterson, Iowa, because I think week one against Albany, it was kind of weird because Jazz had a really good breakout season last year, in particular against Iowa State, where he was breaking off a lot of touchdown runs. He's that type of dude who's like straight one cut, hit the hole as hard as he possibly can. And when you're 6 foot 205, like you're going to get hard to tackle. You're going to bounce off some dudes. And this year it was kind of slow getting him kind of in the mix because there's a lot of young talent at the running back position for Iowa, a lot of athletes and a lot of better receiving weapons than Jazz because he kind of isn't a factor there. But now with Xavier Williams out of the fold, the young talented running back, Terrell Washington has been struggling for Iowa as of late there too. Jazz is going to be the dude who gets like 15 touches tonight somehow. And the way that he's been running, I think he's been running fantastic this season. I no doubt in my mind he could break one just for 40 yards and one chunk, let alone, have a really good scoring opportunity near the goal line tonight as well.
And one of the things that I rostered him right now when you were talking because I had extra money now, and even though he's only 3,800 on DK, so yeah. now I have even more money left over. But you go back to the Ohio game. Now I'm not saying Iowa is Ohio. Just I don't think Iowa likes to be that aggressive offensively, whereas Ohio, I think Parker Navarro being dual threat. But they ran for 201 yards against Rutgers, who's, under Shiano has been a really good defense. Now, since then, they've bottled up some things. Also, competition's kind of been pretty shitty with Miami, Ohio's offense has been terrible this year. And then Michael Vick's Norfolk State team looks like a D2 school. So if it goes back to what it was in the week one, because Miami, Ohio did run for just 117 yards against Rutgers, which is still, considering how bad that offense was, that's actually a better number than I would have anticipated, but when I clicked on the game. So yeah, I think I'm buying in that Patterson actually is probably going to be the best running back play on the board now. So load up. Did you roster a third running back?
I did. Yeah. Kind of to your point on Caleb Hicks. I think when you're looking at a board like this on Friday, where there's two games that we don't think are going to be incredibly high scoring, I think you got to find where those scoring opportunities might lie. And Caleb Hicks is one of those dudes who at 5'11", I don't even know what he actually weighs. I think he's like 5'11", 225 when I see him run, but he is the dude who's going to see some goal line work if they are within that 2-yard line frame. And if he can have a chance at 2 touchdowns, but only 40 yards rushing, heck yeah, I want that on this type of slate. So yeah, find me the scoring opportunities, find me the hard runners, find me the quarterbacks that can make a run into the end zone and red zone situations. Caleb Hicks was one of the guys that I went with there.
Yeah. And Dre Young, shout out to Dre Young in the chat. He's saying, Patterson, you think he can score 2 touchdowns? I don't know about that. Just because how many points I know you're an Iowa fan, Rob, but what do you think the final score of this game? I'm on Iowa heavy tonight, by the way. Yeah. I laid the 2 or 2.5, it might've been. But what do you think? What if you just, as an Iowa fan, what do you think that score of the game do you have concocted in your head is like, this is what's going to happen tonight?
I think it's going to be something like 24-13, 24-10. And the big reason why is actually for the Iowa's defensive purposes, because all week, if you want kind of a fun little note, so Iowa on the year has no turnovers defensively. And they've been Phil Parker has been calling his defense the no boys rather than the no boys all week. And I feel like when there is that sort of like cheesy underlying, motivational spot with a Phil Parker led team, and also they're coming off a game against UMass where they had a punt blocked. I don't know if Rutgers is going to get past the 25-yard line for the first half here. So
and you know what's crazy too is Calic Manis has yet to throw a pick this year.
Exactly. I saw it and I was like, oh, that's good shit.
This is 2 touchdowns of your 24 points being on either special teams or defense. But Ethan Kalamanis, I'm telling you, now I do believe this is the best version of him we've seen.
For sure.
I do believe that, and that's normal. He's a senior. This is what's supposed to happen. But I'm just saying, like, if you look at like, I'm going to pull up right now just to remind people in case they're playing him in DFS, what he did at the University of Minnesota when they played Kirk Ferentz, which I believe happened each year because they had yet to split away from divisions. So they beat Iowa 12-10, right, on that crazy bullshit. If you guys remember, Cooper DeJean had a punt return for a touchdown. The refs completely botched that game. The Greek pellet gun, Kalamanis, was 10 of 25 for 126 yards, 5 yards of completion. Now, did not throw any picks. Did fumble the ball though. Did fumble the ball. And then the year prior when he played, which surprisingly he didn't throw any picks, to tell you the truth. I thought he would.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah. But then the year prior we have they lost to Iowa 13-10. So they scored 22 points in the 2 meetings. And then Kalamanis was 7 of 15, 87 yards, an interception, and a fumble as well. So yeah, he has yet to throw for a touchdown. He has yet to throw for really over 140 yards. Have fun if you're rostering. I know he's put up great stats, 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions this year. He hasn't played any defense like this.
Yeah, and I will say, like, the way that Minnesota always attacked Iowa, and this is how teams in the early going, even Iowa State has tried to attack Iowa's defense. The ball's out in 2 seconds, right? Like, that's how you don't get sacked. You just don't even give them a chance to actually sack you. And eventually you can run that offense over and over and over again. And when it works, it's like, okay, we're avoiding the bad turnovers and the negative yardage plays. Well, get ready for a little bait and switch. And when you don't have turnovers in your Iowa through 3 weeks, there's probably some positive regression coming in that category sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Yeah. And staying on it for wide receiver, because I think we've gone through all of our running backs. This is one that, I'll be honest, this is exactly why I had you on the show. Because I'm joking, but look, Iowa tight ends have been a thing since fucking Marv Cook in 1987 or some shit like that. Coming into the season, a lot of people regarded Addison Estrenga as one of the better tight ends in the Big Ten, or maybe even the nation. Right. He's injured. He's out for the year, right?
Yeah, he's unfortunately done. Yep.
So then I went looking and I was like, wait a second, I need the Iowa tight end. But then I did a deep dive on the UMass game and I'm like, wait a second, all of them had 1 catch. Who the fuck is? So originally I was going to go with Zach Ortworth, but then you get an Iowa insider like the great Rob Donaldson on the show pregame before we went live, and he tells me, no, they're going with DJ Voname. Yeah, Voname, whatever the fuck his name is. All right. But either way, he's on my roster and he's going to bring me cash. So for $3K, DJ Voname is my play, and he's starting, correct. And did you roster him?
Yeah. And so actually Ortworth will be the one that gets more starts per snap basis. But when you're talking about passing opportunities and that sort of aspect of, fantasy, not just run blocking, it's definitely going to be DJ Voname running down the field, getting those better looks. Ortworth has kind of been a disappointment in a lot of run blocking situations early on. And so if that's your vice, good luck being the starting tight end in Kirk Ferentz's offense, even if he's not technically the OC. He's picking personnel. I almost guarantee it. And so, yeah, I look at DJ Voname. He's probably the one with the best chance to score a touchdown.
Yeah, shout out to Lakota Kid. Let's go. DFS shows are back. Let's go. So give me your top priced wideout.
Yeah, so I'm actually looking at Jacob Gill, and I know it's an Iowa wide receiver. There's a lot.
He's going heavy on this offense.
And again, it's one of those things where, yeah, he's like a midget. He's 5'10". He runs a bunch of just, cutting slant routes, little cutting out routes. But he's the dude who's getting up a lot of red zone looks for Iowa's offense. And if kind of my idea is correct, where the defense and special teams are going to put Iowa's offense on that good side, plus side of the 50 more often than not, I do feel like maybe the yardage won't be there, but I want that touchdown. And I think that touchdown is either going to be DJ Voname or a guy like Jacob Gill or a guy like Jazz Patterson. And it might, not be a lot of offensive movement throughout the game, but there might be 3 scores from the 2-yard line just because they started there.
There we go. Yeah, it's true. Block, punt return, interception, strip sack. It sounds like Iowa football over the past 25 years. Right. My top price wideout. Have you seen this kid over at Tulsa? His name is Zion Booker. He is a Western Carolina transfer. Shout out to Weehawk. I know he's seen him. Weehawks. The Cats are 0-3. And I think Weehawks crying knowing that Zion Booker ain't rostering up in the purple and white for the Cats over there in Cullowhee. He's a beast. He's come right in. He had 6 for 67 and a touchdown against Abilene Christian. Remember, Abilene Christian is a good FCS. Then against New Mexico State, different quarterback, 9 for 57. Obviously, you could tell the receiving average went from 11 and a half yards a catch to 6. And a lot of that had to do with the young quarterback last week, 8 for 90. So back up to 11 yards as he got a little more familiar, knowing he was getting the start. But Zion Booker, to me at 6K or 6,300 is he has 23 catches. The next receiver on Tulsa has 9, and that's Mekhi Miller, and only for 58 yards. So they're just throwing wide receiver screens to him. His longest reception of the season's 8 yards, Mekhi Miller. So Zion Booker is my play. Did you roster Zion Booker for the Golden Hurricanes? Channeling Steve Largent. That's Steve Largent's alma mater. Andrew Pearson. So he's going to be the next great there. Did you roster him?
I did. And kind of to your point of, hey, he's been a recipient of a lot of screen passes. How do you hold like a kind of a green QB's hand in this style of game when you are going on the road? You do what Tua did last night on Thursday Night Football, and you have negative air yards through the first half, right?
I can do that.
I can do that too as a handoff. Just extend it.
I think that was my report card. Actually, they're like this dude negative impact in the game. Many scouts jotted that down about me. Like, yeah, when this guy gets in the game gets worse. But yeah, he's a smash play. Even if Oklahoma State runs away with I rattled off those scores a lot. I think the past 7, 3 or 4 of them have been blowouts. So if it gets out of control, I like it even more because you're gonna keep him in the game, especially with the first year coach and Trey Lambert. You're trying to get everybody to know your offense.
And sometimes you just want the pure athlete type, right? Like, who's the fastest dude? Just get him the ball. Hopefully that's good enough to beat a more athletic defense. And across the board, he definitely just kind of screams that he's the most agile, most fast guy that they have.
Yeah, 100%. Great get by Trey Lamb too, because I think he's a baller. My next wideout is on. I told you heavy lean to the Oklahoma State Tulsa game. So I was gonna go with the likes of a guy named Terrell Davis, just because I feel like if you're turning in a DFS lineup and there's a guy named Terrell Davis, you should probably roster him. Historically, I think that's been pretty kind. He leads Oklahoma State in receiving, but I zigged to grab Patterson instead, because Terrell Davis only has 3 catches on the season. No, he's averaging 26 yards a catch, but. So then I went to the guy that I know is this is my final guy, by the way, on my roster. I think you might have one more. Is the guy that is the rock of the offense, Gavin Freeman from Oklahoma City. This is a kid who leads the team in receptions. He also does have a receiving touchdown, and considering they didn't score a touchdown against Oregon. They've only scored a couple touchdowns the whole season, and he's got one of them. He had 5 for 46 against UT Martin with a score. I'm expecting him to get something similar tonight against Oregon. He only had 1 catch for 3 yards. So just to me, that game was it was over early. Get your starters out. But I went with Gavin Freeman instead of Terrell Davis, which could be a major mistake. They also have Sam Jackson snakes on this motherfucking plane. What did you roster Gavin Freeman? And if not, who did you roster?
I did not roster Gavin Freeman. I went with Christian Fitzpatrick for Oklahoma State. And in large part, and I honestly, this is where I kind of felt stupid. I was like, I don't even know who to slot in right here. And
it was
so
a tough slate tonight. Yeah.
It was, you had to scrounge a little bit like crack style, get on the ground and figure out where to pick it. And I was looking at both Oklahoma State wideouts. Terrell Davis, I could be an idiot on this, but he kind of felt like the deep shot, long ball type of guy. I've seen Zane Flores throw a football. I don't think that deep shot's going to be there. I kind of wanted the dude who lived more in the intermediate, was getting a consistent target basis, and Christian Fitzpatrick kind of felt like that guy who might be the recipient of a lot of those kind of just easy layup type throws.
No, I don't think there's a wrong answer for this one. I thought about maybe I was entertaining the Sam Jackson play, but the guy's been so many fucking places. He was at TCU, he was at Cal, he was at Auburn, he's at Oklahoma State now, and it's like I don't know what to put into this. I mean, he's probably one of the more experienced wideouts on the team. He used to be a quarterback at TCU, but there's no right answer to me. Like, we're all gambling on this final player. You know what I mean? Like, there's just, I thought about, I even have the money for DT Sheffield. That's what's crazy. Is this a guy? DT Sheffield was great at North Texas, was good at Purdue under Jeff Brom, and I'm punting on him just because I don't think Rutgers' offense is going to be able to. I mean, I don't think they're throwing for more than $120. So,
right.
Yeah. It's interesting because he would be the one that, if you're actually building your team, if you were a real general manager, you'd be like, no, we'd take DT Sheffield as one of the first picks. Absolutely. But yeah, 100%. Let's shift over to shift over to Underdog Fantasy for this part of the show. What is this shit? Yeah. I gotta sign up again. Hang on, it signed me out.
I think the code is TCE.
Yeah, promo code TCE SGPN. Well, I always got to do that to me though. Sign me out. I'm trying to rattle this off. I got everything prepared. So I went with the likes in this particular game of the Greek pellet gun Ethan Kalakmanis. Mm-hmm. I took the lower 215.5 pass yards. And I put that with Jiz Patterson higher than 43.5 rush yards. Did you do the same?
Did you just say Jiz Patterson?
Jizz, jazz, tomato.
Hey, Jazz has got a grill in, so like sometimes I'm sure there's gonna be some vocal mix-ups, when it comes out.
I would never tell him that to his face. I'll tell you that right now.
Very nice guy,
you're Jazz all day. You're fucking Miles Davis as far as I'm concerned. All right. Did you roster the same thing? I'm curious what you did with the underdog slate on this beautiful Friday night upon us.
Yeah, so I felt like the two strongest angles were in that Iowa Rutgers game, and to your point, Ethan Kalakmanis, I don't think he's getting over 215. So I took the lower.
That's ridiculous. Let's just be honest. That's a slam dunk.
That's like one of those ones that like they're taking the season average and saying, oh, just dock 80 yards. No, you got to dock like 150. And I don't think it's Iowa dynamics that people just have never understood and never will. And then on the other side, Jazz Patterson getting over the 43.5 rush yard mark. I feel like he's a guy who could, again, break that 40-yard chunk play. And he's also going to be the recipient of, I think, double-digit touches tonight. So, yeah, give me him to have a pretty solid night here. Yeah, I like it as well. Okay, so that's that. Let's jump over into Saturday's slate. Saturday, going back to the DFS side of things. But before I do that, I do want to let the good folks know that the College Football Experience DFS show that is back and better than ever.
is brought to you by mybookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet on football, and everything else. Their prop builder is second to none. Their motto is bet on anything, anywhere, anytime. You can easily deposit, get lightning fast payouts using crypto. Head on over to mybookie.ag, and when you do, use our promo code TCESGPN for 100% bet back bonus up to $500 for new customers. That's mybookie.ag. Promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by NoVig. NoVig is America's +1 sports prediction market. And since NoVig is an exchange, you know you are getting some of the best prices in the market. NoVig's available in 35 plus different states. So download the NoVig app and get $50 when you spend $5. If you use our promo code, that is SGPN. Get in on the action with NoVig. Promo code SGPN. All right. Shout out to the great Myron Kidd. Saturday slate. This is the Saturday slate of is the slate of the year. I completely agree. This was the one that to me jumped out DFS wise. I'm going to have a lot of fun with the Friday night one because that's just fucking hilarious. The games we have. I'm still waiting for DK to get Swift and add in the FCS game. That would really have opened things up tonight, but it's okay. But yeah, Saturday noon slate. So if you're wondering, we're getting this from the noon slate DFS. I once again rostered 2 quarterbacks, and for the most part, I know me and NC Nick would battle this. Almost 90% of the time, I do the 2 quarterbacks. Maybe that's just because. So I had a first place lineup in the COVID year when Sam Hartman took on Sam Howell, and I pretty much rostered 80% of that game. And I believe North Carolina won like 55-52, and I got first place. It was the best thing I ever did in life. I got that. I called my fucking school principal that told me I was going to be a failure. And I said, fuck you, first place, you pile of shit. You're still at the same school. Yeah, take this. It was like, you guys hiring? I did have a first place finish, and I've had a lot of like top 10 finishes. Majority of my top 10 finishes have been with the 2 quarterback system for whatever that's worth. Yes, you can still hit it. I've seen #1 lineups with, throw in, whoever, who was the receiver that went off last week? There was a receiver that went off. It just had a crazy day. I forget who right now, but, at the quarterback spot, I'm very high on this play. I think everyone should make this play, in my opinion. I think Taylen Green is going to put up a shit ton of points against Memphis at 8,400. I think Taylen Green's a baller. I unfortunately, Arkansas didn't win on the money line last week. That was not his fault. 8,400 against a Memphis defense. Now I do like Memphis's DC. He came in from Ohio, but I just think it's a tough matchup. There's Bobby Petrino's offense is born to cook. So Taylen Green at 8,400. Who was your quarterback, your highest priced quarterback, or if you only rostered 1 quarterback, please let us know. But what'd you do?
Yeah, so actually I rostered 2. I went pretty heavy there. So I do have Taylen Green in my lineup. I also have Devon Dampier. I think when you're looking at the potential dynamic of Texas Tech versus Indiana or versus Utah rather in that game, we could see 34-31. We could see something even higher than that. I do feel like Whittingham has the opportunity to show up and just shut down Texas Tech's offense, and that could be the story of the game. But Dampier is just a jitterbug electric dude who is pushing the ball down the field as well. And I feel like right now, a lot of people know about him, but aren't really appreciating his skill set necessarily. And until they truly do, all of a sudden we have some betting value just inherently there, in my opinion.
No, that's fair. And I think I actually kind of wanted to do that. I kind of came in with that mindset. I just didn't. Once I put together, I always build the first quarterback first and I build around it. And then I didn't have that much money. So what I did is I just basically went to, I looked at, okay, what team do I think has a terrible, terrible defense? And I think Ole Miss qualifies for that. They just gave up like 530 yards to Arkansas. Mm-hmm. So to me, Jake Retzlaff, who's now getting pussy, so he's playing at a higher level, right? That's just how life works. All right, that's just that's a known fact. There's a reason why Ric Flair's got how many championships, right? This is just it's you can't convince me. Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 fucking points in a game. That guy ran. Did you see how many fucking women he hooked up with? So I believe Retzlaff at 71K might be a bargain play for Kentucky's offense, who replaced the starting quarterback after was actually moving the ball in Ole Miss. I know it's on the road. I know it's a tough environment, but I'm just like, okay, he doesn't have to win the fucking game. He runs the ball a lot. Have you seen his rushing stats, dude? Have you seen his fucking rushing stats this year? I almost feel like they know how to utilize him better than BYU did. So I think Retzlaff at 7,100 is a little bit undervalued. That's my second quarterback there. So yeah, your two were Taylen Green and Devon Dampier. We can't go wrong with Dampier. He rushed for over 1,000 yards. I'm a huge fan. But at the running back spot, this is one that I want people to pay attention to because there's a chance you could eat shit here. You have to pay attention to the injury report. But paging Dr. Kavorian Barnes. This dude's a beast. I followed him at UTSA. TCU 5,600. He's questionable. But if you watch that Texas A&M game, he a dog. All right. Not Texas A&M. Who am I thinking of? North Carolina game. 5,600. Dr. Kavorian Barnes. I think now you have to pay attention. There's I'm doing the pregame show tomorrow. That's the first thing I'm checking if he's playing. But this is the fucking Iron Skillet. This is the final Iron Skillet. If you're telling me Dr. Kavorian Barnes isn't going to play, I question the team. You're questionable. You got to show for this. This is a C-note game. So at 5,600, he was actually not my highest price running back, and I went with 3 running backs. How many running backs did you go with? And please give one away.
Yeah, so actually, let me give you a fun one away. And Clemson, and this kind of ties in with my actual game angle of thinking that Clemson's actually going to stomp out Syracuse in this game, and to a point where I think we're going to see some of the more talented freshmen who aren't necessarily burning a red shirt, but are getting their first starts of the season or first kind of real run of the season in the later half of the game. But Gideon Davidson for Clemson at the running back spot is one of those, right. Yeah. Moff Gideon. Yeah. No, I mean, I've seen the dude run against obviously dudes who are far less athletic than him and far less, size wise than him as well. But when you're talking about that upside of breaking off a couple runs late against a Syracuse team that might just be mailing it in, waiting for the game to end, all of a sudden you might get an 80-yard touchdown run. You could get some run receiving, and for $3,000 on just the DraftKings sort of entry, level, I feel like that's one of the ones that if you're looking for that kind of underlying value, it might be in one of those blowout type of games.
I like it. I like it, and I think there's potential. Syracuse defense looks fucking horrible. One of the things I wanted to touch on, and my apologies with Dr. Kavorian Barnes, is I know he didn't do anything against Abilene, and in fact, I think that's when he got a little dinged up. But against Chapel Hill, he was 11 for 113, 10 yards a rush and a score. So SMU's defense kind of in a rebuild. They lost a lot of their guys from a year ago. But back to your play, one of the things that stood out so far is that I didn't expect UConn to score that much. I even thought Colgate was moving the ball a little bit on Syracuse's defense, so it does make some sense there. My next running back play would be, I'm kind of heavy on this Arkansas Memphis game at the Liberty Bowl.
Sure.
So Sam Pulled-Pork Pittman is a former offensive line coach. He's just an offensive line guy. Taylen Green, by the way, that's another reason why you play Taylen Green is he can run the shit out of the ball. He's got 307 rushing yards on the season already. Yep. But they've been going back and forth now. They kind of got a 2 running back system there with Mike Washington and Braylon Russell, but Washington's getting more of the reps. He's also their home run threat out of Utica, New York there. Yep. This guy, look, to me, you look back, okay, against Ole Miss, 65 yards, just 5 yards of rush, but he had 2 rushing touchdowns. Go back to the Arkansas State game because I think the Memphis game is a better representation of what you're going to see. He had 116 yards of rush. I'm sorry, 116 yards 12.9 yards a rush and a touchdown. And he also has a score in the air. So I just want action in this game. I know it's a rivalry game, but I just think both defenses are going to be a little bit vulnerable. So I went with him at the running back spot there for the Arkansas Razorbacks. Did you roster him, and did you know, who'd you roster then?
Yeah, no, I honestly, I do think that's a really fantastic pick because there's certain games, and I think in this window that could be just really, really fun if you're cheering for overs or DFS or just players, putting up some serious numbers. I did not roster him, but you might have convinced me to kind of restructure this thing a little bit. I went really heavy rather on the TCU SMU game myself.
That makes sense. Makes sense though. I think there's gonna be a lot of scoring in that too.
Yeah, and we've already kind of seen, I think, a similar dynamic between Baylor and SMU, where I just don't know if defense is going to be even on the front end mind of anybody in this game. I think it's just like a thing of, hey, who scores before halftime, who gets the ball at a halftime, who has the ball last. And from that side of things, again, I think you can kind of scrounge and find some of these deeper value plays at the running back spot when you are looking at TCU. Kavorian Barnes is a fantastic option, but I even look at a guy like a Jeremy Payne that's backing him up and getting some run. Again, if you're looking for kind of that value play because you want to go quarterback heavy, take a shot on some of these games that are going to be guaranteed points, because all you really need is a couple touchdowns or one big run, and all of a sudden you found a really nice value piece at that running back spot.
Especially with Kavorian Barnes being questionable. Like, even if he was healthy, they kind of gave both backs carries against Carolina. So he's questionable. So it might that might be a true value play with him. He's going to get some carries, I think, regardless. So yeah, that makes sense. Just what was this price tag?
4,100.
Yeah. Bargain shopping. I like it. I like it. My third running back is in that same very game that I was referring to, the Arkansas Memphis game, and it's this kid Sutton Smith from Powder Springs, Georgia. This guy's a dog, and to me, pay attention to him because rushing the ball. Against Troy, he just went off 18 for 113, 2 touchdowns. But the game before that, 74 yards and a score. The Chattanooga game, 60 yards and a score. He didn't even have that many carries. They were up so much. But also the guy is a dangerous weapon out of the backfield. Against Georgia State, he had 43 yards receiving, 4 catches. But also just historically, if you go back the year prior, he had a lot of catches. He's building that chemistry with Brendan Lewis, the former Colorado quarterback. So Sutton Smith against an Arkansas defense that I think is fucking terrible too. 6,600, they're at home. I know it'll be kind of a 50-50 crowd, but I just feel like there's comfortability there. That's my third running back. Did you roster a third running back?
I did not. I went wide receiver heavy in a lot of these games, but I definitely, that was one that I considered if I wanted to kind of finagle my roster a little bit more. Ended up going really bargain heavy on the running back spots.
Yeah, I got you. The chat, Trick or Treat. Shout out to Trick or Treat. He's wondering, where do you watch the Lafayette Columbia game? I believe that is going to be on ESPN Plus, buddy, which everyone should have if you like college sports. So yeah, jump on over there and check that out. So at the wide receiver spots, because you that was your approach, and I changed that approach all the time. By the way, sometimes I go 3 running backs, sometimes I go 4 wideouts. That one is much more diverse to me. But I'm just gonna stay. If you can't tell, I'm staying heavy in this game here. Arkansas and Memphis. The Arkansas Razorbacks have a receiver that transferred over from Charlotte and Biff Poggi. And honestly, it was not his fault. Charlotte had just major quarterback injuries last year, but Omega Blake, who I believe may have been at Michigan prior to Charlotte, if memory serves me well. This guy's been balling out for Arkansas. He had 7 for 121 in a score week 1, week 2, 5 for 64 in a score. And then last week, 6 for 81 in a score. So Omega Blake against at 6,200, I think is a little bit underpriced considering the success he's had. He's a senior too. And I think he has that chemistry with Taylen Green. I think is their wideout number one. You can clearly tell that by the amount of targets compared to him and anybody else on that Arkansas team. So Omega Blake is my play. Did you roster? Great name, by the way, Omega Blake. Did you roster him by chance?
I actually stayed away from kind of the. It's gonna sound funny that I'm rostering Taylen Green, but avoiding the passing attack. But to your point of Taylen Green being such a weapon with his legs, I feel like it's going to be a very distributive, heavy type of offensive approach with him running for nearly, like the century mark. It's kind of how I see that game playing out. And so stayed away from the Arkansas and even the Memphis wide receivers in this game. But yeah, kind of the way that you're targeting that game, I'm targeting TCU, SMU, and a guy that I think is going to experience that positive regression. Again, I kind of look at it from like, hey, who can give me that explosive outing that nobody really sees coming, or there's no precursor to it just yet? Evan McAllister. A few years ago, he transferred in from Boise State.
He was a baller at Boise.
With Taylen Green. And when Taylen Green was putting up numbers, guess who was kind of the distributing guy of, I'm catching it like 50 yards down the field on a bomb? It was Evan McAllister. And if I do feel like the TCU SMU game is going to be lived in that pocket and it's going to be relatively competitive throughout, I think Evan McAllister has a really good chance of going for over 100 yards, getting a touchdown, and maybe even having that crazy, crazy outing that gets me seriously paid.
Yeah, no, and their scouting department between him and the other kid from Idaho State, they just went to the state of Idaho. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. He had a big game against Carolina from Idaho State, a transfer. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but it makes sense. McAllister's a beast too, so it makes a lot of sense there. I will take you, and since I'm just still talking about this game, I know it seems ridiculous. One of the lineups that I did finish top 10 in last year was when I rostered, I believe it was week 0. I think it was week 0. So Nevada, Brendan Lewis is the starting quarterback from Memphis. He transferred in from Nevada, where he was a 2-year starter there. His wideout from a season ago battled the NCAA for a 7th year of eligibility. He got it, and he got it late in August. And he transferred to Memphis. His name is Cortez Braham. And I got a chance to interview this guy at Mountain West Media Days 2 years ago. He is from Baltimore, Maryland. I did several references to The Wire without realizing that show came out like as he was being born, even as a 7-year college football player. But this dude won me money week 0 last season. And I feel like he came into camp so late. He came to Memphis so late. So week 1, he had 3 for 52 and a touchdown. Week 2, he had 2 for 32. Last week, 4 for 69. But I do believe he is the go-to guy because he has 3 years of history with Brendan Lewis. It's just getting familiar with the offense. So at 3,500, this is your bargain play. Cortez Braham coming in to the Memphis Tigers. I'm curious if you rostered him. You seems like you stayed away a little bit from this Memphis Arkansas game. You're all in on this this TCU, which is perfectly logical considering TCU and SMU had like 100 fucking combined points last year. Did you roster Braham? And if not, give me your next wideout.
I didn't roster Braham, and I definitely see your angle though. Like I remember him and Brendan Lewis like hooking up on some serious deep balls, and so you just need that one, right, to have almost like a perfect week. I actually went with Wesco for Clemson, and it's kind of one of those things again where I do think early Clemson's going to have the scripted stuff down to be able to put up some serious points, and they're going to be drawing it up for their key guys early. And 6,700 is his price tag. I didn't think that was too crazy, and so I do think if you can get in there one time for the end zone or 2 times, that's going to pay off really well at a $6,700 number.
No, that's fair. That's fair. And yeah, I think so. I only have one guy left. How many of you guys do you have just one guy left as well?
Let's take a look. I got 2 actually.
Okay, so fire away again.
Yeah, so let me take you over to Duke, NC State, a game that we haven't really been kind of eyeing a whole lot. And when you're looking at just, I think the Duke approach this game. One, it's the first time that they're going to have a defense across from them that they can just trounce, because yeah, they moved the ball against Illinois, but they weren't theoretically supposed to move the ball against Illinois. That's a very veteran heavy, group. But I think the style of the pace of that game kind of forced their hand. NC State Duke is a game that I think could sneaky be 38-31, high scoring throughout. And at the wide receiver spot, when you're looking at Duke's side and looking at Brown, I think this is an offense that hasn't really lived in the pocket of scoring a lot of points, moving the ball effectively. First real chance, I think we can get some value on a lot of these passing type players. And so, yeah, I took a shot at their leading wideout in this game.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think there'll be, one of the things that stood out to me so far is both those. NC State, I caught them live at Wake Forest last week. Their defense is not good, in my opinion. Now, they did make good halftime adjustments, and I thought kind of Robbie Ashford's not very good at the quarterback spot, so they made some adjustments. But Duke has been one of the biggest. I had Duke power rated like much better defensively. Now, I know they're without they're going to get Terry Moore back at some point, their safety that I think was on the NFL radar last year. But still, Chandler Rivers, Wesley Williams, these guys, they have like 3 or 4 guys defensively that the NFL was. I was hearing reports that they were all going to get drafted in the NFL. Now, the defense has not played good so far this year, so I think there's going to be a lot of scoring in that game in general. My final guy, and I'm curious if you rostered him, taking you to Salt Lake City. Coy Eakin is a wide receiver for Texas Tech at 5,500. So to me, this is, if you got to watch last year and you got to watch this year, because Texas Tech's first 2 opponents are so fucking bad. They didn't need to play their starters that long. Okay. So he had 3 for 47 and a touchdown against Pine Bluff. They won 67-7. Against Kent State, he had 3 for 59 and a touchdown. They won 62-14. He didn't play much in these games against Oregon State, who's a step up in competition compared to those two, believe it or not. He had 5 for 123 and a touchdown. So he's had a touchdown every single game. And to me, and I think we share this, we think Utah is going to win this game. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. That means Texas Tech's going to have to be playing from behind, which I think Coy Eakin is the security blanket for Baron Morton. Now, Baron Morton gets injured every fucking time he breathes, but I still think Coy Eakin will be a smart play because I think he's probably the top wideout. They have a couple guys, but I think he's their security blanket on this offense. So 5,500, I think, is a value play. Did you roster Coy Eakin?
You kind of are almost making me want to throw in another roster here with some of these
why not?
In.
Yeah,
honestly, I think it's a pretty smart move, and yeah, I love that angle actually. So I'm surprised I didn't actually look at Utah wideouts or even Texas Tech wideouts for that kind of style of ball game, but I actually went to the Auburn game and I looked at Cam Coleman.
Beast. I think absolute beast.
Such a stud. And when you're talking about yards after catch and even just the style of Hugh Freeze in general, it's always been, hey, how do I get the ball in my best player's hands? It's super simplistic. It's the Shanahan approach. And I feel like when you have a dude like that on the road in Norman with a quarterback who you probably don't want pushing the ball crazy down the field, manufacture some touches for your dude. And so, yeah, I'm taking Cam Coleman. 6,400 was the price tag, and that's kind of where my roster rounded out.
He's a former 5-star wideout. I mean, this guy's a fucking beast. He'll be in the NFL. And by the way, Lafayette's up 10-0. I hope you listened to me when I gave away these Leopards. They're up 10-0 at the 7-minute mark. They've been playing since 1888, Rob, and Columbia's never won at Lafayette. So I want to talk about the underdog side of this slate, but before I do that, I want to tell folks that the College Football Experience DFS episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Underdog's a great place to play fantasy picking, where you can win up to 500 times the amount of money you enter. Simply pick higher or lower on your favorite player's stats, and boom, you could win. All right, and Underdog's got a brand new offer for new customers. Play just $5, get $50 in bonus funds when you sign up with our promo code TCESGPN. And remember, as always, folks, too, let it ride. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm is off to a great start in college football. Rhythm is just, and the NFL as well. Rhythm has just introduced a leaderboard with weekly cash prizes just for tracking your bets in the app. Track 5 bets of the same type from any model that you build, and you could win $1,000. So what are you doing? Jump on over there. Use the promo code SGPN25 when you download the Rhythm app, and it's going to give you 25% off your first month. Download Rhythm and use the promo code SGPN25. All right, we are back. So speaking of Underdog Fantasy, shout out to them. Obviously our sponsor, promo code TCE SGPN. I mean, this slate tomorrow at noon, I have a lot of entries, Rob. I mean, I should probably, I've done a lot of times I just do 2, but I think I need to combine. But I probably have to combine some of these. But Texas Tech, Utah, I just hit on this with Coy Eakin. His receiving prop is 44.5 yards.
Ooh.
I think the higher 44.5 yards on Coy Eakin is a smash play. I also paired that with Devon Dampier, higher rushing or receiving touchdown if they go Philly special on us. Hell, he's the type of guy to do that with.
Right.
I went higher on both those, and just to give folks an idea, you throw in what did I throw in here? How do I see? I threw in $25 for a $52 payout. And I'm going to throw in a big one where I'm going to use 5 of these coming up, but that's one that I did. Did you touch any? Did you touch that game, or do you have another one that you are high on within the noon or any time on Saturday? Really?
Yeah, no. Looking at that noon Eastern kick, Devon Dampier is one that I think we both really like, where he's going to get involved somehow, right? And I think it's going to be with his legs at some point in the red zone. He's shown that in pretty much every single outing so far, even going back to New Mexico. So I took the higher of that rushing or receiving touchdown. And also I'm taking the lower on Cade Klubnik to go under, or lower rather than 266, because that's more of like a game flow thing. I think they're going to get away from him, and potentially he might be benched by midway through the third quarter. And so, yeah, 266, that's a number that, you easily achieve that if he plays all 4 quarters competitively and they're throwing the ball, but I don't necessarily think he is going to be throwing the ball.
Yeah, I agree. Game script. That's one where you don't want to get him injured. You still can salvage your season. Obviously, you can still win the ACC. We only have 1 loss in conference. At that same time, by the way, and I'll just give out my other one. I got the Iron Skillet SMU TCU. Now I wish they would offer a little bit more. They probably will in the coming hours, but Kevin Jennings, look, I think TCU is going to win this game, but I still think there's going to be a shit ton of offense as I know you have a bunch of action on this. He's higher than 265.5 passing yards, or that's what it's set at. I took the higher just because I believe they're going to have to keep up in this game. And I paired him with the higher on former Houston and USC wideout Joseph Manjack, Patty C's boy, higher than 2.5 receptions, and Patty C still looking for Manjack on in Santa Monica there. But shout out to Chris A giving us $100. Love this comment too. You idiots won me 10% of my yearly salary last week. Fire, first time in the live show in a long time, Chris. God damn it, brother. I love you, man.
Oh man.
You're a great son of a gun. I appreciate you helping us out, and thank you, man. I don't know. Did you use this game at all, or I mean, I don't know if you have any other ones that, because I'm kind of hot potatoing this. I knew the game plan was to have one, but I what do you think about Jennings 265.5 passing yards? Because TCU, the defense is probably better with Andy Avalos, but at the same time, I just think there's gonna be a lot of scoring in this game.
Well, I know there's gonna be a lot of ass chewing coming into this game after how they played against Missouri State, right? And so out the gate, there's not gonna be another slow start. I think if this ends up being a TCU blowout, it happens in the second half as opposed to the first half. And the first half, there's gonna be throwing the ball, there's gonna be moving the ball. I do like that Kevin Jennings outlook. The one that I actually went with in that game is, I'm going to go back to kind of like my DraftKings lineup almost too, but Eric McAllister. I think when you have a guy who's super talented, who through the first couple games hasn't been really getting the ball because of game script against UNC and also game script and the next time out against an FCS. I think this is where he gets that touchdown and they almost manufacture some offense because they're going to move the ball regardless. So I took his higher on fantasy points of 1105. I think, again, 50 yards and touchdown, that puts me over. I'm very happy with that.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Saturday night slate DFS. I'm just going to throw mine out there right now. It's just cause I wasn't planning on doing this, but, Saturday night, that's the best part about, to me, if someone's looking, why the fuck do we play DFS? Well, it's cool because you can have 3 different lineups in, so it kind of keeps you chasing it all day. I went with 2 quarterbacks on this slate. I went with Sam Levitt against Baylor. He was underpriced. I mean, Sawyer Robertson probably could put up better numbers, but I think I bet Arizona, or I didn't bet. I picked Arizona State to win that game. So at 8,700, I went with Sam Levitt. I paired him with Damon Williams because Washington State, just the chance that Washington State's defense is as bad as it was a week ago, you're going to want to get Damon Williams, who's a baller, the quarterback of Washington. Those are the 2 I did there. I stayed in the Apple Cup with Jonah Coleman too at 7,800. I think he's one of the best running backs in the nation. So I think there's value there. I paired him with Fegan, the running back for the Illini. So I only went 2 running backs in this system. Really, Fegan's 5,100. Why am I drawing a blank on his first name right now? Is it Kevin Fegan or is that an old school 49er?
Fegan?
Yeah, it's Keaton Fegan. I think it's Keaton. Kevin Fegan, I think, is an old 49er back in the 80s in Tecmo Bowl.
Which is so on brand.
Yeah. It's Cade. It's Caden Fegan. Yeah. That, but in my head, I'm like Kevin Fegan. I think he's a defensive end for the Niners. I think it is, man. I think it is in like 88, late 80s, early 90s. Kevin Fegan. Does that sound right?
Sounds right. I don't know if it is right.
49ers. I'm typing this shit in. I want to know.
Oh, yeah. We gotta test your CTE
It's Kevin
knowledge.
Fagan. I think it's Kevin Fagan. It says, did you mean Kevin Fagan? Yes. He played from the 49ers from 87 to 93 from Miami, Florida. See, it's all up there in this database. It's all up there, man. It's just,
you have to wear hats to hide all that knowledge. That's what it comes down to.
It's either that or one too many games of Tecmo Bowl. Either or, but those are my 2 backs. My wideouts, I went with, and I actually think there's a decent angle here on. So Chris Marshall, the wideout for wideout for Boise State that came in from Texas A&M. He had a touchdown week 1, and Boise State's offense kind of been a mess. I was surprised he didn't do as much against Eastern Washington. Maybe it was game script, but he's still their team's leading receiver at 151 yards. And for whatever reason, DK still has him at 4K. So I think this is a former, if he wasn't a 5-star, he was pretty fucking close. Cause I remember reading about him when he went to A&M. He got kicked off the team at A&M with Jimbo for some shit. I forget what it was, but I think he's really talented and they're playing Air Force. So I think there might be some advantage there on Chris Marshall for Boise State. East Carolina plays BYU. Obviously they're gonna beat those Mormon pussies, but the receiver spot. So they're very high on Anthony Smith, and rightfully so. He's got 23 receptions. He leads the team by a big amount. And second they have is Yannick Smith, but what they should have is Brock Spalding. He's the possession receiver for ECU at 4,200. I think he's not gonna tear it up as far as he's probably not your home run threat. Although he does have a 55-yard touchdown against Campbell. But he's kind of more of their possession guy, I think. So Spalding at 4,200, second leading receiver on the team yardage wise, also second amount of targets on the team. So you're getting some value there. And then I will take you back to the Apple Cup where, I personally, I don't know about you, Rob, but I took Washington State plus 20.5. I just think last week was an outlier. I think they'll be able to show up in this game. This game will be something. And I'll go to one of the only guys that stayed on this fucking team throughout this transfer, throughout the shift from Jake Dickert leaving to Wake Forest, and Joshua Meredith, their wide receiver. This is a guy that is second on the team in receptions, but he's got 12 for 125 and a touchdown. Last week things got ugly. Only had 2 for 6. But if you go back to the game in Pullman where they beat San Diego State, 8 for 88. He also had a touchdown week 1 against Idaho. So at 5K, I'm gonna go with him as my one of my final players. Final player. I'm taking you to that Gators Canes game at that filthy Hard Rock Stadium there, where the Gators and DJ Lagway. Yes, he's throwing a lot of interceptions, but Miami's got to prove to me. I do believe they're better. I do believe Miami is better defensively with Heatherman, the former JMU DC, but I still think they're probably not as good as we think. They just played CJ Carr, Bethune-Cookman, and Byron Brown and stuff. Byron Brown's a good quarterback, but I just feel like the team's not as talented. I think there's opportunity with Vernell Brown, the receiver for the Gators, the freshman. This is a kid that everyone's been raving about. So against LSU, he had 8 for 62 and a touchdown. Against South Florida, 5 for 56. And against the fucking Long Island Sharks, he had 3 for 79. But I think the guy is the best wideout, and I think he will hit for them against Miami at 5,100. That's my lineup. Tell me, why am I going to lose? Which is the one where you're like, Colby? It's the ECU play, right? It's the Spalding play. You're like, you had to get a fucking Pirate in there. You had to get a fucking Pirate in there.
It's not a bad look though. At the same time, like, I feel like ECU has some value this weekend in some capacity, and yeah, why not throw that in the mix?
There we go, folks. Well, that's our show. We're gonna do this every single week. And trick or treat, Colby. Were I a bigger NFL or college football fan growing up? I've been college football since like 91, man. Like when I first, like I always loved the NFL. Don't get me wrong. I was a huge NFL guy up until like, I have it pinpointed as in tears when the league got shitty. Me and Patty C, I think have, we could do a presentation. 96 was one year it dropped. Like it started to get a little bit. And then I thought 2002 started to get a little bit worse. And then 2011 was a big one to me. And then obviously with the kick rules and all this other shit, whatever year that was 3 years ago, I thought it was another big one. So I've always been college football. The minute I discovered it, really, the minute I mean, I watched some games in the 80s and stuff, but I was too young to fully comprehend everything. When I moved to a different house, we had a basement at this house where my dad kind of let us, me and NC Nick and my other siblings, we kind of went wild, and like we borrowed my grandmother's TV that was black and white. We got my neighbor across the street brought his TV over, and back then we could do a 3 or 4 TV setup watching college football. And I think from that moment on, I was like officially hooked, because you were watching whatever, How about you, man? Did you? Because Iowa doesn't have a pro team, right?
Yeah, and before I lived in Iowa, that's where I grew up, played all my sports growing up, made my friends, family. I lived in a small Oklahoma town called Bartlesville, and everybody around us was an Oklahoma Sooners fan. And so, in the early 2000s, 2000, 2001, 2002, when I was living there, it was like the sense of community you felt throughout the week. It wasn't there. Like, you got crackheads running around, you got meth addicts running around, you're trying to, make friends with the neighbors, and they're all bugged out. And, but Saturdays come around, all of a sudden everybody's cool.
Yeah.
In the morning, there's 8 a.m. You wake up, you go to a breakfast spot, tailgate or pre-gaming for the game. And that was like, okay, this is fun. Then I move out to Iowa, and it's the same exact thing, because there's no NFL team out here. It's just, hey, the sense of community is Iowa football. Let's go to Kinnick. Let's watch the game in the local movie theater. I did that all the time growing up.
That's fire.
Yeah, man, there's nothing like it. It brings people together, and yeah, no matter the dollars in certain areas of the country, everybody loves the sport, and it's nice to kind of find your friends on a Saturday.
Hey man, it was 2001 or 2 crackheads or meth heads in Oklahoma. Just making sure that wasn't me. How do you think I really lost my teeth? I tell that football glory story. No, I'm joking. Folks, that's our show. Shout out to Rob Donaldson. Folks, what are you doing? Get on over to his YouTube channel. Just type in Rob Donaldson. Rob Donaldson. Check out his Best Bet show. He's also on VSiN and Sports Grid. So look out for Rob Donaldson. The man knows his shit. I appreciate you hopping on the show, man. And I think we got something good going here, man. And, folks, also give Rob a follow on Twitter at RobDFB. Yeah, man, appreciate you hopping on the show. Anything else you want to shout out?
No, man, I appreciate you inviting me on. I'm a avid TCE listener, not because I got nothing else to do, but because I choose that I want to listen to you guys. You guys are a blast. And like I always say, you're like the hardest working dude in the sports betting space because you wear a million different hats. I can't even imagine putting myself in your shoes. So yeah, man, I appreciate you inviting me on. There we go.
Crack.
Oklahoma heroin.
It's actually meth. Yeah, it's actually that's the meth.
I know
speaking. You stay up 72 hours in a row. No, thank you, man. I appreciate that, man. And it goes both ways here, man. We've been a big fan of you over the years too, man. So when you threw that out there, I was like, oh fuck yeah, let's go. Folks, you can count on once a week. We're going to be trying to do an FCS show. Some weeks it might even be 2 if we're feeling great, if we're talking shit, if we're losing. You're not going to hear from us for a couple months. But I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. The college football experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Follow us there. Check out all the other stuff. We got a pregame show tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. We got a reaction show tomorrow night. That one's a little iffy depending on that USC Michigan State outcome. But yeah, check us out. YouTube.com/The College Experience. Till next time, this is the College Football Experience, DFS style. It's great to be back. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And the whole team's looking and the whole world's looking with the cameras. Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And you know what to get.